Dr. Mike, host of the iTunes podcast, Psychiatric Secrets Revealed with Dr. Mike, but that's not why I'm here today. Today is part 3 of packing a brown bag. And this is this whole idea of packing food so you can save money. And of course, the average person saves about $2,000 a year by simply packing a lunch rather than going to the cafeteria or going to the fast food drive-thru. So I have a lot of different foods here, and today's talk is on software. And by software, I mean food. We've talked about the theory of packing a lunch. I know it sounds crazy, but we did it. We talked about the hardware, all the cool stuff that you can do to pack your lunch, the bags, the containers, all that sort of stuff. Now we're going to talk about the software, or the actual food that we're going to use to pack a lunch. So here you can see in this camera here, I have a lot of different foods, and we're going to go through various different types. You might think it's kind of silly, but pay attention, you might learn a thing or two anyways. First of all, we have regular food here, and this is what I would definitely recommend people to pack most of the time. Why? Because it's familiar to you, and if it's familiar to you, you're more likely to like it and enjoy it. Secondly, it's cheap. It's the stuff that we have around our houses all the time. It's the stuff that we eat every day. It's the leftovers that maybe you don't want the next day for a leftover supper, but it's fantastic for lunch the next day. And so I have my little container here just to remind you, you can get a lot of different size containers like this. Open them up. Put in your various whatever. It could be a chili, it could be a stew, it could be some roast beef, some mashed potatoes, some vegetables. Put them all in there, seal it the night when you're actually having the dinner, put it in the refrigerator, and guess what? You just pop this into your lunch bag the next day, put it in the microwave when you get to work at lunchtime. You're going to have a delicious dinner. And so you can see here we have some homemade cake, we have some applesauce, some bagels. I also included some things like these little pack deals. Now understand that any time that you buy something prepackaged, it's going to cost you more than if you buy it and pack it yourself. So this is going to cost a lot more than this. And this took about 5 seconds to do. I'd recommend this over this, but you know, sometimes you got to be convenient. Here we also have some things like a little package of cereal. Here's some peanut butter, some yogurt. A hard-boiled egg is always really, really good to have in your lunch for a little protein kick. Some string cheese, some other cheese, even cans of tuna. And you can either make the tuna on site or put it in a little Tupperware container or a little container like this, and just you're off and running. Bring some crackers and you're all set. So my first piece of advice to you would be pack natural foods most of the time, and if you really want to save money, then I would suggest that you pack a lot of the things yourself like this as opposed to like this. And that idea of using your leftovers is the absolute best thing that you can do, because you're really going to enjoy that food and you're also going to save a lot of money. So we're going to move these real foods off, and we're going to look at some other types of foods that are available. So I'm going to move, and our assistants here will take these away. The next type of food items that I'd like to introduce you to, we'll put this over there too, are the shelf-stable foods. Now, of course, the classic shelf-stable food is the canned food, right? This one doesn't have one of those pop-top cans, so you've got to be very careful and make sure you have a can opener. In one of my earlier episodes, I showed you that a lot of the really genuine Swiss Army knives come with a little can opener part on their attachments, so you can definitely use something like that. What I like to do when I'm taking something like this is I put it in a container. When I'm ready to go, plop it goes in, cover goes on, and it's ready to be microwaved. And of course, when you're going to heat anything with a cover on, you want to make sure that cover is loose to prevent spatters, but not tight so it doesn't blow up in the microwave. But there's many other items that you can use too. For instance, a lot of companies have come up with a variety of different microwavable containers. Here's a cup of soup type of thing, and you can get those tubs that have SpaghettiOs and macaroni and cheese and all that sort of stuff in there. So those are great items to do too. These are going to be more expensive than packing a can, but sometimes convenience rules out. Here's another type of container. These are another kind of shelf-stable container, microwavable. Can be actually pretty inexpensive. I think these types of things are great in situations when you want something maybe in your desk drawer, you're not sure if you're going to be late. These will stay fresh for a very, very long time because they're essentially canned. Pull them out, they microwave very quickly because they're not frozen, and they go in great. Now you have to be kind of careful. I have an item here. This is actually both dehydrated and this is also a shelf-stable food. This is a pretty expensive item. It takes a long time to cook, so it looks very impressive. I don't know if this is such a good value. So pay attention and walk the aisles of the grocery store because there are literally tons of these types of items around in various types of forms. And the great thing about them is they can really supplement but not take the place of packing normal foods. So we're going to move this off and we'll bring on our next group of items. And that's the dehydrated foods. Again, another huge category that you can find in a lot of different places. A lot of different aisles will have this. And just to show you, we've got some couscous here, lentil couscous. We have some peach raspberry oatmeal. We have some curry, something or another, a microwavable single of macaroni and cheese. Here is stovetop dressing for those of you who like that kind of stuff. And here is another oatmeal. This is more of a traditional type of oatmeal flavor. There are many other items like this that you can get. They are really easy to cook. You don't need a microwave. All you need is a hot water source, and that could be, again, a crock pot, or excuse me, not a crock pot, but a kettle or a little hot pot or any of that sort of thing. Just pour that water in. You're ready to go. These items I think also are nice to keep in your desk drawer because they stay fresh for a very, very long time. They're very lightweight. Here again, you might want to pack your own. I had a secretary once who would take a little Tupperware container. She'd add some regular oatmeal in it. She'd add some dried fruit. When she got to work, she added a little bit of water, popped it in the microwave. It was the same thing as this, just slightly less convenient. I don't have any frozen food here, but you can also bring frozen food. Frozen food is great because it's familiar, but it's not terribly satisfying. I think it's also very expensive. But the good thing to know is that if you do take a TV dinner or some sort of frozen entree and put it in one of those insulated containers, what you can do is just microwave it, just reduce the time a little bit to allow for the thawing that happened, and it's going to certainly stay fresh for a typical day. But remember, once it thaws, even a little bit, you've got to cook it and eat it. You can't refreeze it. Lastly, I just want to mention that there's lots of freebies out there. These are just some freebies that we've picked up at various stores. We have peanut butter, jelly, tartar sauce, ketchup, malt vinegar, honey mustard, mayonnaise, even a tea bag someplace and a cracker down there. Obviously, don't be tacky. Don't take the whole handful. Don't be all of those relatives that go to the restaurants and dump the rolls and everything in their purses. We don't want to be like that because that's kind of being dishonest. But if you take an extra pack of jelly or something, that's going to be fine. So with that, I want to say thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned. The next little episode here is we're going to talk about actually packing a lunch. So see ya.